All right, we heard some great talks this morning. Now for something completely different. So I'm Vuokko, I'm a product designer at Monzo, and I'll be talking about, I'll be sharing the Monzo story so far, how we work as a design team, and then what it means to be designing a bank together with our group community of users. I think I kind of missed it because I was looking this way. Can I ask again who of you is a Monzo user? It's pretty awesome. Is there anyone here who hasn't heard of Monzo before? Okay, great. This is, all right, personalized intro for you. Monzo is a fully licensed UK bank currently running in beta for iOS and Android. And we built all our systems in-house from the ground up with a heavy focus on technology and user experience. And we built the whole bank stack because we want to be able to control the experience in every way, so we're not dependent on any of the big players out there. And our mission is to be a financial control center for the lives of 1 billion people eventually around the world. But current accounts in the UK are our first step on our way there. I'll quickly share some recent Monzo milestones with you, just so we're all on the same page before I continue with the fun stuff. Monzo was founded early 2015. We were originally called Mondo. And for about a year and a half, we've been running this prepaid card program, which was meant to be kind of a beta test for what would become our current accounts. So the prepaid debit card program let us build our apps and see how people use our cards and our product and kind of learn from there and start building the actual bank. And we got our full UK banking license in April of this year, which was a very happy day. And then this summer we've been really busy building all the bank features for the current accounts and things like overdrafts and also new exciting things like partnership integrations and many new things that you'll see in the app coming soon. Yeah, we are still currently in beta with the current accounts. We opened the current account preview, as we called it, to our users in July. We started with 2 events a week at our office in London. And then we quickly moved to distance signups, as we call them, so people from outside of London could also get their hands on a debit card, because some people actually came from 9 hours away to one of our launch events, and that was very cool. But obviously, we're not just building a bank for London. Here are some happy people who came to one of our launch events and got their envelope and their new debit card and tweeted about it. And that brings us to today. These numbers are a few weeks old, but they're more or less make current. So we have about 400,000 people using our prepaid cards, and about 20,000 of those are on the current account preview. And we're planning on kind of migrating everyone over to the current account during the next few months. So what makes someone come from all the way from Northern England to Old Street in London just to get their hands on a bank account that isn't really even fully built yet? I would say it's just really the fact that it isn't really fully built yet. We're building our bank out in the open and being transparent and sharing everything we learn and do along the way. And we're excited to build a bank that we want to use, and we're kind of taking our users along for the ride. So how do we do that? First things first, here's our design team. We're just 5 people at the moment. We have Hugo, our head of design. We have Sam, who I think has spoken at one of these events before. He's an awesome illustrator and animator. We have Rich, a new web guy, and 2 product designers, Xander and myself. And actually, the end of this month, we're getting a user researcher, which is very exciting because she'll bring a set of skills none of us have. And we're also looking for a few new product designers, but I'll get to that later. We're an independent team within Monzo. We work with all the different teams within the company directly, just making sure that design and user experience is considered throughout everything we do, and that everything that we build inside Monzo is easy and delightful to use. So we'll work with all of these teams, but obviously we mostly work with the product team, which builds the apps that you know and use. So we basically, the way we work is we help different teams solve problems. So this is a recent example. How should we let users know they're nearing their overdraft limit? Something we've recently worked on. And I just have one box here for products, but we've actually grown so fast recently. We've basically doubled our number of engineers during the last few months, so we had to split. Our product team was growing so large that we couldn't handle morning stand-ups or anything anymore, so we split the team into 4 smaller teams called growth, retention, lending, and partnerships. But now that we have more engineers, we're again low on design, and we have to keep, it's a balancing act in a fast-growing company. Yeah, we're building a lot of things, and we're moving fast, and building the current account features and lots of things, and we need to really focus on what matters. And something that's helped us focus our efforts on what matters is the 80-20 rule, which we often talk about. I think it was originally coined by a Brooklyn-based designer called Ryan McManus. And it says that 20% of a design solution is the most critical thing to get right. If we concede that 80% of any established interaction is universal, the true brand experience lives in that 20%. Yeah. So that 80% we read, obviously, Google's material design guidelines and Apple's human interface guidelines, and we use platform patterns and conventions that have already been invented. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel for the sake of it. So that helps us save a lot of time and also makes the app easier to use because you already know different components from other apps that you use. But that special 20% is something we really focus on. It lives in things like this. This is one of our onboarding items. It's like a special notice screen that looks different from the rest of the app, and it's designed to make you kind of pay attention and react, because this is something important that you should really pay attention to. The 20% also lives here. This is Hot Chip. It's our on-screen representation of our Hot Coral cards. And this is an animation we show when a new user has signed up and given us their details, and we're ready to send the card. So Hot Chip is like running over to you like, I'm on my way. And we put a lot of work into polish on our welcome animations and things like this, just to show that we're humans and we care, because it does take a lot of trust for someone who doesn't know us to give us their personal details and put some money onto a card that'll just show up in the post. Yeah, when you first sign up, the Hot Chip is running to you, and then if you close the app and come back later to check on it, he's on a boat, and then finally, if you open the app, he's parachuting down to you. And details like this really matter in showing us that we're putting care into what we're building and we're human. Next, I thought I would share a little bit. A lot of people ask us how we decide what to build and when to build it and how we work, and I thought it would be interesting and a little bit scary to share 2 case studies with you. One feature that we already built and is finished, and another one that I'm currently working on, and let's see how that goes. But I thought it would be something I'd want to hear, so hopefully find some value in it. But first, the thing that we've already built. This is our transaction detail screen, which you might recognize from our app. So it's a screen about one transaction you made. There's a geolocation, the name of the merchant, address, amount categories, a few actions. And this is what we started out with. It's pretty loosely laid out. It's a pretty loose layout because we didn't have a lot of actions on the screen, and we could afford a layout like this. But then once we started designing for the current accounts, we noticed that we would have a lot of new transaction types. So direct debit, standing orders, overdrafts, online subscriptions like Spotify, all these kinds of things that each have their own unique actions and kind of each one is a special use case, but still kind of similar. So we knew that there would be out there for us to find like a modular solution that would let us use the same template for all these different kinds of transactions and kind of like switch in different pieces in and out depending on the transaction type. And that's what we started working towards. And everything at Monzo in the design team starts with asking a lot of questions. So we ask questions and we start to even understand the problem more clearly, and then ask more and more questions from ourselves, from the rest of the team, from our community, and then we kind of work our way towards the solution. So in the case of the transaction details, we obviously knew we would have a lot of new types of transactions coming in, and also lots of new transaction types we maybe don't even know about yet. So we always need to account for the fact that things will for sure change in the future, and we just need to kind of design a loose kind of solution that can house things that we don't even know about yet. And another really important thing at Monzo, since we are a bank, if you use Facebook and you have a problem, you might just close Facebook and continue living your life. But if you have a problem with your bank, you will want to get in touch with us. So that's something we always need to pay very close attention to, because if we don't design something well, people will get in touch. So how can we reduce support queries is a big one for us in anything we do. It's actually kind of nice because we do know if we failed, if people are getting in touch with us or they don't know how to do their ID verification, don't know how to do it, so that we know that we failed and there would have been a solution out there or there is one, and we need to go out there and fix it, because Monzo is known for its level of customer support, and we can't let that drop, so we can't bombard our lovely customer operations people with unnecessary queries. So this is what we ended up with for the first iteration. On the left I have the iOS design we came up with, and on the right, Android. I chose two different kinds of transactions here. So we have a restaurant and then a bank transfer to Matt. As you can see, there's similar elements. There's a category and add receipt, note, but then for the restaurant, you can split the cost using Monzo Me. On the bank transfer, you can send money to Matt. So this is the template we came up with for the platforms, and these are just two examples. So we actually started with the whole list of different kinds of transactions, everything we could think of, and this was probably just the first version. I'm sure there were more, but it helps to map out everything and then just start working down the list, and you start to see patterns and which items have similarities and which are outliers, and maybe some outliers match, and it's really interesting, and you start to find the solutions and further problems actually. And we work in Sketch. These are all my artboards for the Android version of transaction details. We have very neatly labeled and named and organized Sketch files. So we have like a black title card and one flow of for each thing in one row, and it really helps us to see the whole customer journey. Maybe it only makes sense to us, but I'm not sure. But it definitely does make sense to us. Yeah, that's how we work through problems, and kind of we can zoom out and see where the similarities are and where the problems might lie. And we sync our files over GitHub, and our engineers go straight into our design repos and look at our design work there. So it saves us that extra step of having to describe what we mean. Yeah, and once we had worked through that list of all the different transaction types, there are always more questions to answer. At some point, we need to stop, and that for that reason, we have, for instance, this isn't ready to be built yet. What do we do for now? So we always need to think of what the must-haves and what the nice-to-haves are. Just we want to build so many things at once. It's all a trade-off, but just need to decide what the most important things are and what things will look like in the next 12 months. In my opinion, the one on the top right is really important. So often things do go wrong. We can't maybe load a merchant logo, or we can't get the geolocation. Things need to kind of fail in an elegant way. So it's really nice to design with a nice avatar and all the different parts. But in the real world, things do go missing, so we do need like really elegant fallbacks, like maybe we can bake in an asset or a color, assign a color, but just because when things do break, we don't want to kind of show that that has happened. All right, and next, I think this is the scary part for me. I'm going to share something I'm not currently happy with yet, and it's something I've been working on that started last week, and I'm currently working on it. But I'm getting there, and I wanted to show you my progress, and I thought it might be interesting. So here it goes. Here are Android app on the left and iOS on the right. As you can see, on iOS we have what we call the pulse graph, and it's a visualization that's connected to your feed of transactions, so you can either swipe the graph or scroll the feed, and they're connected to each other, so you can easily see your spending over time. And that's something we've never had the bandwidth to build on Android yet, and it's something we get asked a lot about. And now we are also currently building overdrafts for Android, and some other things that I think would be a lot better if we had a visual component to that feature, so just to make it more understandable. So I'm kind of tackling a few things at once, which often happens, but it all comes down to this pulse graph on Android at the moment, which will unlock a lot of things for us. So what I started with was just kind of seeing where the problems lie. The first thing you can see is on iOS we have 5 tabs, but on Android we only have 4 because we have the hamburger menu on the top left, which is a very common Android design element, and it seems very Android-y, so it would be a shame to get rid of it. Same on the search is on the top right on Android, which seems natural for the platform, but it does take up space there. So we're already like losing a lot of vertical space up there. And we don't want to grow this element. It's important for us, but it's not important enough to take up half the screen. So what I started looking at was, what if we could, once you start scrolling, all the normal elements fade out and the graph fades in. But that would make this kind of a hidden feature, and since we're building a bank for everyone, it doesn't seem right to kind of hide such a thing. So it seemed like that's definitely not there yet. Although removing the Chrome when you scroll, that could be something. Another thing I looked at was like, what if we could collapse the graph into just the highest peaks and the lowest valleys before you scroll, and then when you scroll, the thing expands to its full width. But that definitely seems like a compromise, and I think compromises are never good in UI design. There is that great solution out there. So this is not it yet. And so there's a lot of other elements to think about here. One is what we call the ticker. I suppose it's generally called a ticker. On iOS, when you scroll into the past, you can see all your balance and spent today for each point in the graph. But that's something that we've gotten a lot of negative feedback on, actually. It's one of the least accessible parts of Monzo, because we do tend to favor big and very legible text and elements, but on the ticker, the text is quite small. And also the way other elements fade out and this element kind of sits on top, it's not readable by screen readers, which makes it clearly not an accessible feature. So I first quickly looked at if there's anything we can do with contrast or just changing the style, but it felt like probably not, so it would be good to completely move away from the ticker and see if there's a better solution out there. And with current accounts, we also now have the possibility to let our users scroll the graph into the future, because with prepaid, the last point in time we knew was the present moment. But with current accounts, we know when a person's salary will come in, when their rent goes out, when their direct debits go out. So we can show a projected graph of the future which adds its own challenges because the graph is connected to the feed of transactions, and you don't want all the future ones sitting on top of the ones that happened. So that's something maybe we need to hide them on top, and then that's like another hidden thing we need to maybe educate our users about. One way I like doing is having some sort of label for like the first X amount of times you open the app, and then you learn about it, and then we can take away the label and maybe leave some sort of small hint and then take that away as well once you've learned where to go look for things. And to further complicate the pulse at this moment in time is overdrafts, which is a thing you just kind of need to have for current accounts. But it also means that the fluctuations of the graph are much higher than they used to be, which kind of leads us to probably have to revisit this whole thing on iOS as well. Because on our prepaid cards, people would top up some £100 and spend that down close to zero, top up again, and the fluctuations were quite small. But when you have an actual bank account and you get your salary and it spikes, half of it goes to rent, then you spend it down, and maybe you go down into your overdrafts minus 1,200, and that's huge fluctuations we need to consider. So these are all things that affect the shape of the graph that we're working on. And this is more of a kind of a visual puzzle, I think. Well, we need to think what the default state is and what all the different actions are a user could take, and how we communicate those actions, and how we can like avoid completely breaking platform patterns, because that is something that matters to us, as does privacy. Another thing with the pulse graph, we've actually there are a lot of people who hate the pulse graph, and they hate the fact that we show a big balance when you open the app. So I've read a lot on our forums about people's privacy concerns, and that's really interesting. So it's another thing I'm keeping in mind and seeing what the right solution for this would be. Yeah, the Monzo design team is small, but I like to think that kind of our like 12th player on the team is our community. We are keeping such close dialogue with our community that it really feels like that there are many more than 5 of us. We host monthly open office events at our office in London, and also do knowledge share sessions and all kinds of events around the UK, and mostly at our office in London, at least once a week. And it takes a lot of our time, but it's really important for us to keep designing out in the open and sharing our ideas early and keeping that line of communication open. And I think at the heart of our community is our community forum. We have, I believe, over 10,000 active users at community.monzo.com. It's a place where we really share our ideas and work in progress and ask questions, and people get involved and give us their feedback and their suggestions and all kinds of things. We also do product design out in the open. So here, for instance, is our new card and profile screen that I designed a few months back, and I shared really early in our sneak peek section. I shared my design, and I got tons of likes, but also comments and questions and feedback, and it was really interesting, and I learned a lot about what people actually want from this and how our users see this part of the app, and it helped me work my way through to a better design in the end. And our users also give us their own feature ideas. This is one of my all-time favorites. Someone designed a drunk mode for us. It helps you prevent from spending too much money at the pub. I think it's really cool that people know that we're listening, and we take this stuff seriously, and it can be heard. I have a short video that I'd like to share. We also have quite a active developer community and an API, and I think it was last month this guy posted a video. He had made an Internet of Things Piggy Bank that was connected to his Monzo account, and we all thought it was very cool, so I thought I would share this with you.
you can connect this to an online bank account, and that's what I've done using Monzo's account and their API. So to show you how that works, I can top up my card, and this is a bit like saving money, so I'll top it up £10 and use Apple Pay, and that's done. And again, the pig alerts whoever that something's happened. And again, I can say, what's new?
You saved £10.
So this is the Piggy Bank that you can talk to and ask questions. So I'll show you how that works. How much money do I have?
You've saved £35.15.
And because this is connected to my Monzo account, I can do slightly more complicated queries. So I might say, how much did I spend today?
You spent £4.
Or I could ask, how much have I saved this week?
You saved £50.30.
So you can see how it feels quite natural asking it questions about your money. So the other thing I can do with this is set savings goals. So I might say to it, I want to save for a camera.
How much is that?
£40.
Okay, a camera for £40?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good luck with your saving.
Then you can see the ears rotate to show you how you're progressing with your savings goal. And you can also ask the pig directly as well. How much more do I need to save?
You need to save £30 before you can afford to buy a camera.
So then, as I save more money, I'll show you what would happen. So I'll save £10. And the ears rotate to show you how you're progressing. So I'm getting closer now, and I'll save another £10. How much more do I need to save?
You've reached your saving goal. You have enough money to buy a camera.
Cool. That's it, really. We're really excited to be building Monzo and sharing our progress and whatever we happen to be building at the moment. And we're really happy that our users are also excited about Monzo and sharing their thoughts and ideas and piggy banks and everything with us. Yeah, if you have any questions, now's the time to ask, and you can follow me on Twitter. And one more thing, like I said, a little bit of advertising. We are hiring a few product designers, so if you are one or know a good one, please get in touch. Go to monzo.com/careers, or you can come talk with me later today. Thank you.